Welcome to a special episode of Ed's Not Dead, Teacher Tips.
Teacher Tips.
We're back.
We are back with our standalone segments that our audience seems to like, Teacher Tips, where we talk all things classroom instruction.
Yes.
Our last Teacher Tips episode was on how to organize your classroom.
That's right.
We had the resident expert here, Mr.
I actually got
Siddons.
some really good feedback on that episode.
Did you?
Yeah. From non-teachers, interestingly enough.
Yeah?
Yeah. One guy talked to me about just sort of how he was surprised how much has to go into teaching.
Yeah.
And thinking about it.
That's
in
funny.
the prep work. And, in a totally sincere way, he was telling me that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I guess it is a lot.
Yeah,
to
it's
think
pretty,
about.
it's a pretty complex job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our friend of the show, Kaz,
Yeah.
Mr. Kaz, I think he commented that he liked hearing Dr. D here talk about his teaching.
Yeah, he was enamored
he was
with
like,
that.
oh my God,
He's a real person.
Robbie Dodd taught. He knows something about it. Anyway, thanks for the feedback,
It's a new
Kaz.
That is
side.
funny.
All right, so tonight on Teacher Tips, we are going to talk about an all-important topic, how you persevere and keep yourself motivated all the way until the end of the year. Audience, when you hear this, it'll be late May or mid-May. I have problems
Late
with
May.
Late May?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the time of year where every second in the classroom counts. You got to keep teaching bell to bell,
That's right.
beginning of the day to the end of the day. How do you do it? How do you stay motivated? And more importantly, how do you keep kids engaged all the way until you hear Alice Cooper saying school's out?
You love playing that
forever.
song.
Oh, that's the greatest
So
song
funny.
ever.
Are you going to play it this year, by the way?
I should play it, shouldn't
Yeah.
I? Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about it.
It's a good. Do you guys remember me playing
I
it?
do, yeah.
Sure. Okay, good. I still have the tape. So how to
The tape.
Yeah.
I still have the 8-track. The phonograph.
I guess I could just get it on the line, couldn't I? on the YouTube.
That is so funny.
Anyway.
Anyway.
What do you got? What do you got, Mr. Sids?
I think big picture, I think it's you got to start with what you can control, and that's yourself and how you deal with the stressors of the year.
so
at the end of the
disciplined
year.
you are.
No, it's just you have to exude positivity for not only the teachers around you but the students, because they're looking at you for examples, and if you are looking like or feeling like or saying things that are saying, well, we just have to get through this, we only have a couple more weeks, we're counting down. If you do that, the kids pick up on it and they're going to do the same. You have to.
So if you check out, they check out.
Correct. If you're checking out, they can smell it even if you're trying to fake it. You got to.
They're like sharks.
They are. You really do. You have to come in.
to do anything.
Because Mr. Dodd is asking us to take down the bulletin boards, so we know he's done. Right?
But it's only June 1st.
Yeah.
And that's a good point too. I mean, if you're taking down your wall decorations in the beginning of May, it's probably not a good sign.
When you bring that up, I have seen that where you're just like, come on, there's literally weeks left.
Yes.
You're going to deconstruct it takes 2 hours
Right.
to do.
And you're doing it in May.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
What if
Can't
you
do
need? What if you need to go fishing though? I mean, if you-
Hypothetically, right?
Yeah, of course.
Last couple years in the classroom, it would be for a few weeks out before the end of the school year. I would take like one thing down a day.
So that's good. So in all seriousness, one thing that I always thought of as a teacher and as a principal was that this is the end of relationships,
That is true.
right? I mean,
And that causes discontent.
You know
in
where
some
you
people.
know where I'm going with
Yep.
this. So you got kids that you've connected with, you've bonded with. They look to you. You're
Mhm.
this huge non-parental figure in their lives.
They see you more than maybe even their parents.
Right. So how do you sustain that relationship in a positive way all the way to the end so kids feel supported? Keep teaching?
You got to keep teaching. You got to stick to your routines, and you have to maintain a positive attitude with kids.
Yeah.
Because they're going to test you whether they want to or not, and you kind of have to really get into a mindset of like, I know it's going to be challenging, but I have to maintain a positive attitude.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard for adults because maybe everyone around you is starting to check out.
Yeah.
How do you bounce back from that? That's challenging.
How do you, as far as curriculum and I know teachers don't have a lot of autonomy with what they have to teach, and the end of the year now these days is a big assessment time, as the rest of the year is. But you're usually doing state assessments and benchmark assessments at the end of the year. But are there any things that you can do differently curriculum wise that that wrap a bow on the year, put a bow on the year, that keep kids engaged? Projects, reflections.
So, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think starting to think about next year in a way, not that you've given up on this year, but reflect on what you've done. Ask the kids to reflect on what they've done and what you've done.
Yeah.
And try something new. You know, one thing I think, at least I always felt as the year came to a close, was whether it was a self-imposed pressure or came from somewhere else, probably more self-imposed to do this and do that and, you know, kind of keep doing what we're doing and do a great job. And I always felt a little bit looser at the end of the year.
Right.
More relaxed.
Mhm.
And more willing to accept failure.
Yeah.
Try something.
Right.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's
You know,
it's so
I'm
funny.
going to
you bring
learn
that
about
up.
it this year,
Yeah.
and I'm going to try it again next year. But if it's a disaster,
Yeah.
so be it.
So I tell my first year teachers this every year around this time. I tell them towards the end of our relationship, I my last parting recommendation for the last couple of months is, if there's something in the year that I asked you to do or recommended you to do, or maybe you didn't feel comfortable, maybe you just didn't feel like you could have done that with your kids for whatever reason, I want you to try it. Because if it works in May or first week of June and it's a routine or a rule or like a game or an activity, it's going to work in September.
Yeah.
And if you can get it to work now and get kids engaged and excited to learn in June, then you can do it in September. So try it. If it doesn't work, you got a couple of weeks left and nothing's going to happen anyway. So you just got to take that risk.
Yeah, and I mean inherently, that last few weeks of school is a happy time. I mean, kids are
For some.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Kids are looking forward to the end. Staff are looking forward to the end. Parents are exhausted. I mean, parents may be the most exhausted of the three groups, because they've had to parent all year, and they look to the summer as a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
You know, it's a change of routine. You don't have to get up and get kids out the door or make lunches or do all the stuff that you've got to do during the school
Yeah.
year. So you got to try to leverage those good feelings
Yeah.
to keep kids learning.
And I think that's you also have to recognize that there are some kids that they get 3 squared meals a day at the school.
Yeah.
And there's that potential that all that structure goes away.
Yeah.
And a lot of the support mechanisms that they rely on every day are they don't consciously know it, but subconsciously they know it's coming, and that could be a reason why there's misbehavior. That could be why
Absolutely.
they're lashing
It's a
out for whatever
stressor.
reason. Yeah, it's a stress related piece.
Yeah.
And that could be exhibited in your classroom in a way that you
Right.
need to be ready and patient for.
And you guys know when we worked together when I was a principal that it's everybody lets their guard down a little bit, and supervision is really important at the
Yeah.
end
Very
of
true.
end of the
Very
school
true.
year. And I would always, you remember my emails where I would urge staff to stay vigilant, do your duties, be where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You gotta stay.
It's not a free for all.
No,
Yeah.
you gotta stay on your game,
Yep.
because just from an organizational standpoint, you want everybody still pulling in the same direction all
Yeah.
the way till the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. What else?
Oh man. I think if you can plan it right, you can make the end of the year fun and do some cool activities with kids. If you at least let them know ahead of time. Like there was towards the end of the year, I gave them a big picture of what we're going to be doing up until the very end, which got us to like the second to last day of school, it wasn't like we were doing research projects, like heavy research projects, but it was still academically rigorous, and they knew that it was coming. So they knew that we're going to be doing XYZ activities and projects,
Right.
or whatever it may be. So they knew what to expect. So it wasn't a surprise when they came in on June 12th that we were actually still doing work.
So what do you think of back in the day when I was a 4th grade teacher, we did memory books at the end of the year?
Ooh, nice.
Ooh, what's that?
And well, the kids, we ordered these little hardbound empty books, and they would.
That wasn't your idea. Whose idea was that?
No, that was my idea.
Jane's.
Really?
I was. Might have been Jane's. Jane.
I wouldn't have taken you
Jane,
for such
if
a...
you're out there, I'll give you credit. But yeah, it was probably Jane's idea.
Yeah.
But
I just wouldn't have
are
thought
you
you'd be
trying
the
to say I
I wouldn't
wasn't
have thought you'd be
creative?
the sentimental type.
Me, not sentimental. Speak for yourself, Mr.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
ouch.
no, I mean it's
That's true.
We know that about you.
pretty true.
So the memory books were great, and I've often wondered, because you're talking about academic press and rigor all the way to the end. But I mean, when kids look back on their experience with me, I'm not sure they're gonna think about. I wonder if there's a place for that kind of social emotional reflection.
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily academically rigorous, but
Yeah.
those are kinds of things that they keep in a drawer somewhere that travel around in a box for the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
right? And they look back and their kids see it, and I mean, those things are important.
Yeah.
And so I think, as much as we push these days, I feel like those things still have a place, although they could be construed as busy work and just kind of let's ride out the year, right, in your memory books.
I mean, if you're not spending 10 days on it, I mean,
No.
those things are valuable, and
Yeah.
and to say that they're not valuable would be
Yeah.
would be disingenuous.
I mean, especially at younger ages, definitely overlooks
Yeah.
where they are.
Absolutely.
I mean, talk
Yeah.
to a 8-year-old and
Yeah.
tell me
Right.
that's not important to them.
That is
Yeah.
important to them. Yep.
Something along what you were talking about before, and this isn't school related per se, but you talked about going fishing,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything wrong with planning something for yourself.
Yeah.
On the day after the last day of school,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
something to look forward to.
Yep.
That you haven't been able to do.
Yep.
Or that you want to do,
Yep.
or that you love to do and spend all day on. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with looking forward to a non-school, non-work related
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having that dangling there at the end, I think, is a really good a motivator.
Yeah, and
that's true.
In the 90s, when I would every year I would have my pickup truck loaded up, and I would go to the Blue Ridge, and I would fish for a week. I would look forward to that so much, but part of once I was there and I was enjoying it, it wasn't just that I was enjoying fly fishing in the Smokies. It was that I was also thinking about the school year and that it was over and that it was
Some calm and rested reflection.
Absolutely. It felt good because you had gone out in a positive way. And so it's still in you and with you. It's not just, I wasn't just fishing and forgotten about the school year.
Right.
Yep.
It was, I was thinking about the people and so it continues to live on in you even once it's over, and having that nice fun plan thing can even make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're about out of steam on this. What do you think?
Well, if you have any ideas on how to finish the year strong, listeners out there, please leave us some ideas or some feedback on iTunes or on Facebook. Let us know how you finished the year strong.
Mr. Kaz, if we expect reflection from you.
Yes.
But I'm throwing out an assignment. I'm throwing out the gauntlet to our friend of the show, Mr. Kaz. Your reflection, your end of the year, it can have nothing to do with standards-based grading. Okay? You've got to reflect on something else.
That's right.
Let's
right.
Talk about you're an awesome teacher. I want to hear a different reflection. Anyway, I love Kaz. He's awesome. He's the tip of the spear on standards-based grading.
Yeah, he is.
Isn't he? He's gonna
Changing the world.
Yeah, he's gonna enact major change in the world of grading. All right, folks. Yeah, send us your ideas for how to keep it going all the way to June. Thanks for tuning in to Teacher Tips. Boys, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.